We should have had that.
Oh, the dancing one. We should have had the dancing song. Remember he did that shit?
Yeah. We should have a scene of all of us just doing that.
I don't have space right now. Oh, it's like the pump motion.
Yeah.
Alright, tutorial, guys. Pump motion. You're pumping a bike, and the cowboy kick. Head still. Oh shit. Oh, my old joints.
Alright, so we'll probably just talk about what like the Stephen King on like how the way he wrote his books. They're generally supposed to be like all connected together. So it's like they called it like the Stephen King universe. So this generally connects with all his other books like The Shining and like Dreamcatcher.
For real?
Yeah, and like The Mist and stuff.
I've heard that, but that's interesting to me. So he's basically created his own, like, if you had a comparison, Marvel universe.
Yeah.
So all Stephen King stories, even the ones you have completely nothing to do with horror,
the
right?
Stephen King universe.
Like you have
SKU.
Room 1408, that's the whole story. Then you have like the Green Mile, right?
SKU.
Like all these things are just in this universe.
There was a thing where I think even in Shawshank Redemption they mentioned Derry, Maine. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then there in one of his other movies too, or one of his other books, they mention the prison that Shawshank Redemption is taking place in. So they're actually pretty much all connected.
Gotcha.
I remember reading about that, and I thought that was interesting.
That is really cool then, and that has something to do with the movies we just watched because they were throwing out some hints at other Stephen King things.
Part of the universe.
Yeah, part of the universe. So in good fashion.
And wait, by the way, Ninjon, quick question. Because they did like one, maybe two, like little, I guess, kind of callbacks or kind of tribute fucking things to The Thing.
Yeah, but that's what's funny is The Thing was actually
it's John Carpenter.
Yeah, it's
right?
John Carpenter. Yeah,
but
which is weird.
Has
movie, by the way.
Do?
I don't know because whenever time I looked it up,
maybe he just really liked The Thing.
Yeah, maybe
because if you think about it, a lot of his weird shit, like even in It. Right, spoiler alert, guys, but like final form.
Yeah,
you know,
it kind of looked thingish.
It kind of looked thingish.
Yeah, from John, it kind of did have like John Carpenter like reminiscent. Of
and they even made the joke in the movie. I think you pointed it out.
Yeah, when the head turned into like the spider thing,
right?
Or whatever.
Yeah, there was a thing line,
and
he threw a thing line.
It was fucking Bill Hader's character. He was like
Richie.
Yeah, he said it. He looked at it and he said it exactly how they said it in the thing. Like,
right? Yeah,
you've got to be fucking kidding me.
It was
but when you
Kurt
look
Russell's
at it,
right?
No. It was the other guy that turned out to be like the thing when they're doing the blood test.
Oh, that's what it was.
But the thing is, when you look at that old movie,
exactly
at that moment, Bill Hader in that moment and that character in the thing, they look like similar except without the glasses.
Right. Yeah. It was like
but. Let's go.
Oh yeah,
first movie.
Okay, so with all that, since what was it? The first one came out 2017, and then I think that was pretty crazy because what was it? The original or whatever that aired on TV came out in 1990, and that was like
so you're talking about like
27 years.
27 year gap.
And then that's how it appears is every 27
years. Yeah, if you guys didn't catch that, that's an interesting fact. They made the movie exactly 27 years, and it only comes in the town every 27 years. But yeah, I
thought that was pretty crazy. Yeah, and the first one, it was more about them as kids and them defeating the monster, and that was the whole theme of the first one. And I really liked that one too. It was very like 80s type.
Yeah, and
like a hardcore Goonies.
Hardcore Goonies. I watched it. I was like, this is a Goonies on crack. This is Goonies saving the world, and I loved every second of it. I loved the dialogue between all the kids and the characters, and it was just awesome seeing them as kids. And
for a movie like that has kids starring in it, it was fairly fucking graphic and just
it's some of the best acting that I've seen, to be honest.
From kids, definitely.
Yeah.
And then
it was great.
and then in the first movie they showed like how fucked up that town really is. It showed all the adults and how like messed up they are to the kids, and like how even some of them were so protective, probably because they even the theory was they knew about it.
Yeah.
And they just never really did anything. That was with Eddie's mom.
Yep.
Or whatever. Yeah, she always wanted him inside the house. She was taking them like the medicine and stuff because she was afraid of what was out there because she had that fear, and I think that that showed more of like the aspect of the town on like how they were all like afraid and how all this like negativity was built in the town and how fucked up the town was originally for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Go on, sorry, you want to say something?
No, I was going to say like because I'm not trying to jump ahead to like the differences in the movies.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But like, okay, well, we're gonna get to the new movie, the part 2, pretty soon. But to focus on the first one was mainly like I don't recall them having any incidents that involved like missing adults. It was mainly with children.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think maybe that was especially it being back then. I mean, it has been around for quite some time. But I think there was that fear with it focusing on the kids in the first movie and with the parents and stuff, how it kind of like links and stuff. So that would make sense.
Another thing was, I think the reason why I didn't want to, pretty much attack the adults was because what we were making that point before was it was probably helping its powers or whatever, or the being of it, creating that negativity around the town. So it was making it powerful because that's why I didn't want to attack the adults, because none of them were like really, they were pretty much helping him get his goal of just feeding off the children.
Right. So and they didn't really play on it too much in this remake, but in the previous ones, and again, I didn't read the book per se, but from what I understand, it was more than just what it was. Right, the creature, but it had an influence on the entire town, and it like did something to the town, like to the people. Like people were just weird, and like they were like not caring about like the things in the town.
Oh yeah, and
they were having all that negative energy, like, and so like he was using that, and I think it made it easier for him to be able to target children because the parents were all just fucked up anyway. Like, but
well, and I think Ninjong, you mentioned how on the first one when they're carving up. The big guy, the big kid. Ben?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Was his name?
Ben.
When he was the chubster back in the day.
Yeah.
And then you had that car drive by, and like, and they're like the two adults are just like watching and stuff, and then they just kept driving
away. Yeah,
like,
just let it,
with like blank ass faces and shit. Like,
and that's why the red balloon appeared behind.
Back. Yeah, it's because the influence of it. Like they don't care. Like, and in the original movie, they actually pointed out. Bev is actually the one that says there's something wrong with the people in this town. It's just not, what's happening, but there's actually something wrong with the people.
Yeah.
And the idea was that it was feeding off of the negative energy and putting in like negative energy. And it was having this cycle effect on like the entire town where she remembered a scene in the original where she was, and so the old movie actually explained it. This one not so much. You just kind of get hinted at it, but like with that scene that you mentioned. And the old one, Bev actually just says it straight out. Like, no, I remember I was being attacked by the bullies, Henry Bauer and such, and then my dad actually one time came out and saved me and scared off those kids. But before that happened, the neighbor saw me, looked at me, and just went away.
Right.
Like, there's just something wrong with the people in this town.
I think for this one though, they wanted to keep that whole like
not so obvious.
Thank
you, Captain Obvious.
Yeah,
there's
like,
something wrong with
like
just
coming out of nowhere. Like, oh, there's some like supernatural occurrence going on with the people's energies. Like, if someone were to say that line like out of nowhere,
right?
I want to be like out of place. Like, oh, wow, they figured that out like that quick.
Like, but no, like I mean, you see it in the part 2 of the reboot or whatever, where they really focused on that idea of like it influencing the town the way it did because the only one that could ever remember anything was Mike. He called everybody, and because he stayed there, he was like so obsessed with the investigating all the different occurrences and shit, and then everybody else that left the fucking place.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, everybody else seemed to be doing pretty fucking well for themselves.
Right, yeah.
So, after the events of the first one,
everybody else forgot and shit. But, like, if you... wait, I'm not trying to jump ahead. But, anyway.
Yeah.
But, they definitely focused on that for this second one and shit. But it definitely made for a good movie because, then they went through the whole thing of everybody's got to find their own...
tokens
token or whatever.
Right, yeah. There are 9 pieces of 8.
Right.
So
the Horcrux.
Yeah.
So the second movie takes place like right after all the events of the first one, after they defeated the monster and stuff like that. So then it doesn't really show them all move out, but a lot of them like move to like different places and stuff like that. And that brought you to the beginning where the beginning of this movie, which is chapter 2, where they're just in that. It's like it's the gay couple in the carnival, and you know, and it's kind of fucked up, but they get like hate crimes on.
Which, by the way, that's where it kind of starts, because, like, again, like, from the first one...
energy.
The energy of the hatefulness and
but it also, from the first one, it focused more on the kids and stuff, and, like, you never really heard about, like, it, attacking adults or missing adults. It was all about the kids and that fear, but then the second one, like, from the beginning, it was like, you see Pennywise, and he straight up hides that dude.
Yeah, for me,
it's like, wait a second, I thought this was just about kids, and maybe he was just going to focus on the kids that grew up and battled him. But
one of the points was what I thought was the reason why in the first one he was just mainly focusing on kids was because kids are easier to scare. Yeah, so it's easier to feed off of,
and it tastes better. So. Which tastes better, right? According to him, kids with fear taste better. And the idea is that this is what we came here to talk about too. Is its power. Like, apparently, there's some confusion to what its powers are, and why it does what it does.
Right.
And and again, if you watch this movie, spoiler alert, you find out it's not from this planet. It is an alien, literally.
From another dimension.
From another dimension. Not just like in our... So our laws of physics and everything, like the rules of like our world don't apply to it. So it works differently. So I guess there was some confusion.
It comes from the unknown. Like, why no one really knows where it came from.
There's some confusion as to why it can manipulate what people see and do and this and that and whatever, and why it can fog up people's minds. It just can, right? It's not from our fucking dimension, and so it doesn't eat actual things.
Yeah.
So it's eating people, right? It's feeding, but it's not feeding actually on them. It's like what Ninjan said. When we were talking about it, it feeds off your essence.
Yeah,
that's why it needs you to be afraid, because that's why all these bodies are just half eaten. It kills them, but it's eating off of like their essence. And like, I didn't read the book, so maybe it explains it more in the book.
I think it does too, probably.
Like it's eating, like it needs them to be afraid because it tastes better. That's what it likes. It wants it to taste better, and it prefers children who are afraid. But if we remember from the first one, the first movie, which was great. I absolutely love the first movie. Of the remake, is what I mean. So the one in 2017, where they had the kids, it was all about the kids, and the kids were basically saving the whole town, and they didn't even fucking know it. But you go through this whole movie, they didn't really find out what it is yet. They just find out the basics, the things that are important. Like, you have to not be afraid of it. You have to, stay together and fight it, and they kick its ass, right? So then what does it do? It goes back to sleep. So that's why I thought why it woke up. It woke up all of a sudden. It was like, damn, I didn't get to eat shit. Yeah. So it had to eat the first thing it found, which was adult people. It just didn't give a shit anymore. It was like, I didn't eat. I'm fucking hungry.
I didn't even think about it.
It got its ass kicked. It's like, I didn't get to eat for 27 years.
Yeah, right. What I was thinking really was maybe because this incident happened, maybe that it instilled this fear in that that gay couple, and because. I was thinking at the beginning of the movie is maybe it doesn't. People don't necessarily need to be afraid of it.
Yep.
They just need to have like a sense of fear
because he was drowning.
Yeah,
because he was about to like die. Yeah, he was afraid to die in like the river. And
so I'm like, that's what I was thinking. But that's a good point you brought up. Actually, that's a good point.
Because it's been like 27 years, and then
it's like a bear out of
for everybody. Yeah, apparently like everybody that moved out, they all like forgot, like all the kids and stuff, and they kept trying to remember. They were like, oh yeah, I grew up in Derry, but I don't really remember my childhood. Like all the ones that moved out, the only one except for Mike. Yeah, Mike, because he stayed there,
and they all became successful. They had crazy jobs and crazy houses. Except for Mike. Mike's still
he's in the library just like chilling.
Mike just left. Holy shit.
But I think what it was because
President of the United States.
In the movie, he even said it himself. He realized that when people started moving out, that's when he noticed that everyone like forgets, and because that's why he wanted to stay, because he wanted to know why it's like that. Yeah, and then that's when he started to come up with the reason. It's because of the power that it has. It's allowing everybody to forget about him when they move out of that town, but everyone that still stays in there will keep their memories because it's not trying to cover its tracks kind of thing.
Because it helps the fair.
Yeah.
But if you leave, I guess the idea is that if you had left, you can draw attention to the town. He doesn't want that.
Yeah.
Exactly. What I mean? So you just start to if Besides the fact that if you leave the town, you probably want to forget anyway. That's why you
because of all the shitty things that happen. Yeah, you probably want to just forget what happened. Yeah.
So
childhood.
All of you guys have seen the original It, so we're gonna move into the second one, and draw comparisons from there. But so the second movie starts off. Mike calls everyone.
Yeah.
Says, it's fucking time. It's 27 years. He's resurfaced.
You gotta come back home.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do some shit. You're gonna have to come back home. First thing that you see is they're all like, they all remember the promise, but they don't remember
how it happened.
what exactly the promise was for. They just remember, I have to go back.
Yeah,
that's all they remember. And they did really good as far as the old movies and these remakes to kind of tie in exactly how everyone reacted and how everyone felt. So like Bev was still in her shitty relationship where she was in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
And the part of it they actually explained was she ended up in an abusive relationship because she actually low-key kind of forgot that her father was abusive toward her, and she ended up in the exact relationship. But she had remembered, then it would have been different. And so like, what was it? Ed? Was his name Ed? The one with the placebo?
But
he learns, right, that it's a placebo. He learned that it was a placebo in the original movie. But he leaves, guess what he's doing? He's still taking meds.
Yeah, he's still taking
his because he forgot. So, like, I thought that part was really cool.
Yeah.
Right, he doesn't need it. And he kind of remembers that he doesn't need it, but he
still uses it because he was so used to it when he was a kid.
Question, though, like, I'm trying to remember, in part 2, did they ever, like, go over, like, Bill? Because Bill is the author, right?
Yeah.
William.
Or Will?
Isn't it William? Willie?
I think it's Will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Will. Anyway,
I think.
He's the author, right? He's supposed to like kind of like be low key Stephen King.
Yeah, because of his endings.
But like,
he likes his endings. I like that.
They're talking about. Didn't they mention something about him writing in his books and stuff? And like, didn't they make a kind of like a? It's like someone early on mentioned like something about his childhood or something in him with his books. Like his experiences or anything?
I don't remember. I'm trying to remember that because they never really. Because even when before, he never really said anything about him being an author or anything. He kind of just like, it kind of just showed him, like as an author, and then he was on set, and then he was making that movie. Yeah. Because it was based on his book. Yeah. And then everyone kept making fun of him because they don't like his endings. Yeah, and he was just like,
right.
Well, not everything's supposed to end.
Reference to Stephen King, because everyone was saying they didn't like Stephen King endings, and he's in the movie saying, "Oh, I hated the ending," which is pretty funny.
Too, yeah. He says
Stephen King's in the movie. I never knew what Stephen King looked like till this movie.
Yeah, he makes a Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah,
because it's his creation. So I thought that was pretty cool that they included him in the movie, and they even included a line of him saying, "Oh, I just don't like the ending." Yeah, it's like, which is funny because everyone knows Stephen King. And everyone, usually when they review his books, they all, there's always that big group of people that are just like, oh, I just don't like the ending of the book. Yeah. And it was funny because it was more of a thing to play on, like, this movie as well. Like, it was, like, trying to, like, because everybody keeps saying that they're not going to like the ending. Because, the first part of the movie is only just half of the book. And then, and then the second half is pretty much this movie.
Right, and I think there was certain expectations, too. Like, which ending are they going to do? Because, or how are they going to do the ending? Because I guess there's some slight variations in how the book and the previous films ended. And I guess there was also a promise that this movie was going to end differently. Yeah. So
I guess that's why they kept trying to show it. Like maybe people are. There's always just going to be those people that just don't like the ending regardless. And I think that's pretty funny because it's like they're self-aware that they know that people are just gonna make those reviews where they're like, oh well, I hate the ending.
Yeah.
So I hated the ending.
Preemptively striking.
Yeah, and they're just like, you know what? Yeah, we already know people. We already know there's gonna be a group of people that aren't gonna like the ending, so we're just gonna make this movie how we wanted to make it in our vision anyway. And that's what I thought was pretty cool. Which was that they were very self-aware that there is gonna be people out there that are just like, oh, it's not better than the first one, blah blah blah. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be a different movie. It's not supposed to be the same exact kids fighting a monster movie. You already saw that in the first one. This is supposed to be different. Yeah.
By the way, a talking point we brought up before was the how they decided to make the actual the monster or whatever at the end of
yes. Because and that was a big point too. In that, so at the end of this movie, you have just in general, this movie felt darker. Yeah, it felt darker than the original, and I liked it because I was like, they're adults. And it's darker, right? And
they had some freaky
part of that was going into the ending sequence was, you everyone knows what it is if you've seen like the old movies. It's a fucking creature, and in that movie, it's a fucking spider. Yeah. So like with this whole movie being darker, it's great, but you're like, everyone likes Pennywise. Everyone likes the clown. So if you put this, like, what's his
Just
final form gonna be? Like, he's gonna like be a fucking alien spider thing again? Because then it's just gonna take away from the movie. You made it dark. You made it, darker to me, and
they kept showing the image of the clown. They
and
reoccurring.
You wanted the clown more than you wanted some fucking alien spider.
Yeah, some like out of world.
So they combined it, which I thought was good.
Yeah,
I liked it.
I like that.
Even though it was a lot of CGI, I didn't care. I was like, this is good. Because if they did a fucking spider, bro, and it was just like a talking giant spider attacking them, I'm like, this is not weird. As cool as you might as well be watching Coraline, because that's what the fuck it was. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but
combining it half clown.
Still clown. Still had the clown in it. And that's what I wanted. I was like, don't get rid of the clown.
Spider legs.
That's what people want to see, is the clown. They want to see Pennywise fucking people up.
Yeah.
Don't put the giant fucking spider in there, and they did. So
that was a really
good, and that was a change from the original set of movies. Where
and the book apparently, right? Because in the book he was never the clown at the end.
Right, he wasn't a book. He wasn't a clown. He wasn't a book at the end. He wasn't a clown at the end of the book.
He wasn't a clown.
He was like he was just a creature, and he had the deadlights and such. And I really liked how they portrayed the deadlights in this. Obviously, they didn't have the same technology as they did back in 1980 something.
Yeah,
but like.
1990,
but like the deadlights, they were actually 3 floating lights. They showed the deadlights.
Yeah.
So its real form wasn't even actually like the spider thing. It was just these 3 floating lights. This is the existence of what is it, right? And it's just portraying this image of a physical form that it can touch you and whatever, where this is what it thinks that they're all afraid of. The clown, and it's just giant and massive, and there's no hope of beating it. So it takes on that form, and then they all start, attacking it and such. But like that, that was great. Having the clown in it was still great. And I'm glad they did that. But I want to talk about like the whole film in general real quick, and like just about what made it darker. Mm-hmm. The comparisons from their characters to the first one. Yeah. Like I really like first off on the fact that the kid actors and the adult actors, I could swear that these kid actors actually grow up into these adult actors.
Well,
it's like
what's
that
crazy
was a job well casted.
The adult Ben,
he kind of resembles.
Yes.
Even though they're like 2 different races. Yeah, which didn't make any sense. Yeah, it was just like, wait, what's going on here? And then it's funny because like that was one of the points I was gonna bring up too.
It makes me think real quick. Like how like a fucking actual real life crimes where kids go missing and they have like an artist who knows how to depict how they look as when they're older. Like, did they recruit that person? Like this actor.
Yeah,
we need this actor.
We need Bill Hader.
Yeah, then they computer generate, and then they went through like celebrity face match, and then just like this guy looks just like.
It's also but also just like the way they were able to portray the personalities from the kids up to the adults. It just seemed to match with everything
perfectly.
Yeah. And like one of my favorite actors, fucking
James McAvoy.
Yeah. There you go.
I knew it was
coming.
He's a really great actor. Yeah.
He's just really.
That was
yeah.
Like honestly, like of all the adult characters, he's the one that didn't look as much, as close, as well.
But he portrayed it.
Really. Yeah. However, he did a damn good.
I like how they're, obviously as actors, your job is to portray the personality. The fact that you could have a kid actor and an adult actor portray perfectly the same personality was seamless. Like I felt like I was watching the same person grown up. Like that was insane. I loved it. It was great.
I think with one of the points I was gonna make was they just for some reason, I guess maybe they had like a time where they both studied each other or something like that. Or like, how did you do this character?
The adult actors the same kind of acting motions, like the same body movements and stuff.
And they just learned off of each other. And the adults mainly learned from just watching the kids. So then that way you could just build your character around.
Even when you take Bill Hader, he was kind of like being Bill Hader.
Yeah.
But I think he already fit the character. Of that
he already fit Richie.
Because he was already fucking telling jokes and shit.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, in the original was that Seth Green playing Richie?
Yeah, when he was young.
Yeah,
it was Seth Green.
Yeah,
the guy that created Robot Chicken.
Yeah,
that was when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Because that was way back then. So that was one of his like earlier roles.
Damn, Seth Green, you're just supposed to be fitting the character, not putting him into your whole life.
What was it? So having the kid from Stranger Things and then having Bill Hader. It's crazy because it's like you don't really think that they even really look alike, but then in the movie you're kind of like, oh, you know what?
Yeah, I can see it. I
kind of see it. Yeah. I mean, like even though like their main selling point was because they both wear glasses.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well,
and the long brown, they just grew
the hair, but their mannerisms, like the way he acted was pretty much the same. Yeah, the same quips, the same comedy. Yeah. So that was pretty good. I think his was so far like the best as comparison to like when they grew up, and then it'd probably be like James McAvoy, and then it'd be the others. I like Jessica Chastain too.
I do too.
She did a really good job playing as an older Bev. And then it
was good.
With all the other performances, I think what really surprised me was because I didn't really notice in the movie, but I was watching it the whole time and I was like, why does Mike look so familiar? And I was just like, the whole movie, I was like, Mike just looks so familiar. Like I've seen him before. Yeah,
you told me this.
And then it wasn't until after the movie when I looked it up and I was like, oh shit.
Oh yeah.
He's the Old Spice guy.
Mike is the Old Spice guy.
The Old Spice guy.
He's
and
the
I was
guy
like,
that fucking...
and I was like, oh man, like that's when you know you're like, you have range, when you can be like that comedic in a commercial, but this serious.
He's just lost his shit in the movie, right?
Yeah,
Mike is some guy that lost his shit. You're like, damn, I kind of like, all right, Mike, get your shit together, right? Yeah, and then like, meanwhile, in a whole nother fucking universe, he ain't afraid of shit. He's an ultimate man. He's just like,
and he's changing the scenery in the background. He's on a horse. He's taking your wife.
Yeah, he's taking your
what? And it's just like, damn, this is Mike. Yeah, that's crazy. That's when you know you have a really good range as an actor. Is if you first started out as like what was it, a viral commercial, and then now you're doing movies like this. Like he's up with names like James McAvoy, Jessica Chastain, Bill Hader, and Bill Skarsgård and stuff like that. And it's just like, man, what the?
So I liked what they did. So they kept with the original movie with Mike. The movie starts off, he calls everyone. It's basically at the point of Mike starts it off, Mike ends it. He narrates the story in a way where it starts and ends with him. He's writing the book of what happened. And I liked what they did with this because in the first one, he was just kind of like a loner and he remembered the promise. He remembered things. He was very... But he was just that person. And this one, it felt more realistic because Mike literally lost his shit. Like, his marbles were all fucked up. Because that makes sense. He remembers everything. He's like, damn, 27 years? Oh, shit. Now it's only 3 years? Oh, now it's only 2 years? How are we going to defeat it? Nobody else is going to remember. I need to do something about it.
I'm glad nothing happened to him in the meantime.
Right,
that whole 27 years.
So, like, and so he's just messed up in the head. Like, and the actor does a good job to portray somebody who's trying to convince everyone of something.
Yeah.
But he's not even sure of it himself because he only gives small little details here and there. And you find out that in this movie, and I don't know about the book, in the first one there was no mention of this at all, in a sense of like him visiting the tribal lands and this and that and whatever.
Oh yeah, the ritual thing is supposed to be something new for this movie because it wasn't.
I don't think that was in the book either.
Yeah, I don't think it was in the book. And it wasn't for sure in the original.
So I don't know if it was in the book, and I don't think it was in the other movies. But like the ritual of Chud or whatever. Yeah. But I really liked that idea because if I was fighting it and I had to convince y'all of doing some shit, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Like, if y'all don't remember shit and like, if I'm thinking by the time you remember, you're going to be like, fuck no. I need to have a solution in place.
Yeah.
So if I build the backstory of it for you guys, it may not be completely true, and I could say, and this is how they defeated it, then everyone's going to say, oh, it's been defeated before, we can do it, we need to do it now.
Yeah, do it again.
So I like that he was trying to convince everyone of this, that this will work. The ritual of Chud and this and that. And I like the fact that if you think about actual Native Americans, like when it comes down and lands, they're very ritualistic people. So, of course, they would have believed, whatever they believed in, they would have put a ritual in place for it. So it made sense. It made sense that these lands were owned by natives before and the thing comes down, they try to do his ritual, and of course they would have believed in the ritual.
Yeah.
So, they managed to do something to it where it was working, and apparently they all died in the end, but still. Yeah. He etches that part out because he knows he has to defeat the town at the expense of everyone. Everyone's expendable to Mike. But he knows that he also believes that they'll survive as long as they fully believe. Because he's the only one that remembers what they learned in the first one.
Yeah.
The first one, when they're children, they remember if you fucking believe, it works.
Not just that, but if you fight it together, not just on your own. If you fight it together, then you can win. Yeah.
So in the original set, I will say this though: the original movie, they had to go through this constant struggle. It was like watching Harry Potter. Harry Potter always had to relearn every movie. Oh, my friends are here to help me, right? Yeah. And he'd be like, yeah, you can't help. We have to do this on my own. No, we're fucking here to help you. Same thing in the original It movie. It was like, oh, we just have to believe. He's afraid of us if we believe. And then every 5 seconds they forget. You know what I mean? Like, this movie, they did a good job of, they didn't remember. And they were just going through the process so they finally remembered they have to believe. So there was that.
Yeah. I thought that was good. Because what I liked that they added that whole fact was, during the movie, I was like, wait, if it's been defeated before, then why did it get out? And I kept thinking about that throughout the entire movie. And then it wasn't until the ending when they revealed when it was like, oh, you didn't tell them, Mike?
Yep.
Yeah, you didn't tell them the fourth part of that story? Because, the outer fact that he had like a scratched out part. Yeah, spoiler. But, I mean, we've cut it for spoilers already. But, yeah, so it was like, apparently, the ritual didn't work. And it came out and started killing all the natives that were trying to do the ritual. Yeah, and I was like, okay, well, then that makes sense now. Because... yeah, I was going to say, if they had defeated it before, why didn't they just keep doing it back and forth, like, here and there? And I was like, yeah, that something about Mike doesn't make any sense. But, like, that's what brought you the whole mystery of, like, oh, well, what's he really trying to hide? And then it wasn't until the ending that you find out, like, oh, he knew that you just had to believe, like you said, you just had to believe that you can defeat it, then you could defeat it. Yeah. And that's what he was trying to make all the adults remember, was you just had to believe. You just have to believe. But then the problem was it's not... the ritual that defeats it. It's, your belief. That's your belief that defeats it.
So he tried to create an idea that they can all believe.
Yeah, so...
without saying, you just gotta believe, because then that
wouldn't work as well. It's harder to convince when you're an adult than it was when you were kids. Then it would be easier to convince. Yeah. But that's why at the ending sequence, if I remember, after they tried to do that ritual and they realized, oh shit, it didn't work. They all started to run. They all started to separate, and that was their first mistake. Was because when they started to separate, that's when it started attacking them individually. Yeah. And then that's when they all started to feel their own guilt. Like when it went to Will's, he started to feel real guilty because he finally revealed that he actually wasn't sick in the first movie. He just didn't want to play outside with his brother, and that's why he has always felt guilty throughout that entire span, throughout his entire lifetime, was because he realized. Yeah, he wasn't sick at all. He could have saved his brother if he was just there, and it just kept trying to make him feel guilty. So it kept bringing him the negativity. So it kept bringing him down. So it kept like, oh, you could never save this kid, blah blah blah. And that was like the reoccurring.
And then that was he was freaking out when the other kid was in the movie and he kept trying to save him.
Yeah, in the carnival. Yeah,
who was also a great kid actor. Yeah. I really like that kid. In the whole movie, you're like, damn, this kid's funny. And then he's like getting, talking about Pennywise in the fucking.
He's like, oh, I hear, Or, well, before that, when he met him on
he's like, I hear voices too.
Yeah, and that's when James McAvoy was like, don't listen to those. He's like, he already knew. Like,
it's like, it got funny when you just got the kid.
I liked that. I liked how dark that was, that you learn later, after that scene, that he was just felt guilty. He was trying to save this. This is why he was trying so hard to save the kid. And he was like, like, no one's here with you. I need to be here with you. I wasn't there for my brother.
Right.
And he still loses the kid.
Yeah.
He still loses. The Pennywise comes and eats the kid right in front of him.
One of the things that I remember reading about was there's this whole theory of what if that kid actually didn't exist and it was just
messing
Pennywise that was messing with James
Which is absolutely possible.
Yeah. Because all of a sudden this kid, the same kid that they see at the buffet, lives in his old house. Like, that's kind of weird. Yeah. And then, like, he goes into the House of Mirrors with a bunch of friends.
That's true, actually.
He never, his friends aren't even around, and he's the only one there.
And if you think about it, too.
And I was, like, thinking about that theory.
He gets stuck in a glass area, right? Yeah. But would you really be stuck in a glass area?
In a like stuck in just a square glass thing. Yeah,
like, if he's walking there with his friend... Because he did go in with a girl.
Yeah.
And I completely would believe the fact that Pennywise did that.
Used that just to mess with him.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is because at the end of that sequence, if you remember, he's hitting the glass and everything, and it's just all blood. Yep. But then there's that quick second where it just reveals that it's a mirror. So what if it was? What if he really was just messing with him? Like, what if it wasn't a real?
The kid's not even there.
Yeah. What if he lived in that town? Yeah. It's just like, what if it was just totally Pennywise just fucking with drugs? Because it was like that could have been it.
Another fact you got to think about is that could have potentially screwed the kids as the adults and stuff, because that threw him over the edge, and it's like, I'm going after him.
Separate.
I'm
going after
him by myself. Yeah.
Where Pennywise can get him.
Which their whole thing was they were supposed to meet at the library and come up with a game plan so they could just attack him.
And they ended up having to rush over there. So brings me to another point, though, is the fact that the one thing I thought was weird about this movie and the other movie is that Pennywise can physically touch you, hurt you, whatever. Yet he has ample opportunity to hurt each of them and doesn't. And it doesn't make sense to me because this is when they're most vulnerable, when they're finding their tokens, they're by themselves, they're forgetting that they have to believe. Yeah. They're just lost, and he's right there in front of them, just letting them get away. That was the only part of this movie, which is why I say I like the original better, because you don't find as many of those loopholes. Right. In the original, when I say original, I'm talking about the 2017 and they're kids. It makes sense. He's trying to put fear in them so he can eat them. Yeah. Right?
He doesn't really
taste better when they eat them. Yeah. It doesn't make sense in this movie that he's just trying to put fear in them, because if I was it and I knew there's a group of people out there who hold the secret to defeat me. Yeah. The first thing I'm gonna do is just kill them. If I killed the one dude at the beginning of the movie not giving a shit, I would kill them too. Right. Definitely them. Because the last thing I want them to do is start saving people. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like know how to defeat me or get their shit together. That's the last thing I want. So it didn't make sense to me that he was just toying with them. And the original one, the old one, it made some kind of sense in the point of they actually figured out like 5 different points in the movie, but again they kept forgetting because I don't know why they made the movie like that, but they actually in a sense knew that it was afraid of them when they were older. It just kept telling them to get out the town, get out, I don't want to see you, I'm gonna get you, but he wouldn't go next to them. Yeah, he wouldn't be actually really around them. That's true. And he was afraid of them, like in a sense he just kept trying to scare them out of the town, right? And this one it was different. He just kept fucking with them, but like it didn't make sense to me because it would, like, if you think about the character of it and you think about logic, it would know that I need to kill these people so I can continue doing what I want to do. If these people are around, there's a chance I may go hungry again or I might die or, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It didn't make any sense that he was so close to them, basically touching each of these characters and not hurting them. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Not like hurting them to a point. Yeah. For me, I feel more like he just wanted to toy with them before he killed them because he wanted to just get his revenge, and he wanted his revenge to be sweet because they were the only kids to have ever like beaten him physically. Yeah. So he wanted to try to like fuck with them while they were adults. Yeah. He wanted to instill that fear with them again, and I was like that brought up to the whole point of maybe because he was because it is another being from another dimension, like you can't really. You can't really understand his mannerisms. It's not like there's a behavioral science on, true other dimensional beings. So it's just like, you don't really know. Yeah, so this is one of the things where it leads back to like how Stephen King always likes to make his horror stuff around the unknown. Like you just don't know. And it's like, you could always see it as like a different perspective. And it's like, remember
you gotta think about the like fears too. It's like, maybe it can only affect them if
they're like fear. truly afraid, like really, really afraid. So that's why he wanted to really just fuck them up, because like with that adult in the beginning, the gay guy and his boyfriend, is because he was fearing for his life. He was dying in the river and he thought he was gonna die, and he was like so close to death. And I think that's why he was able to just like really eat him and whatever. And I mean like with the other adults, I don't know. I guess he just wanted to really just mess with them, just because he still held that grudge of like, oh, these fuckers guys, these fucking guys hit me with a bat or with a pipe or whatever that was. Yeah. Fucking losers club. But I don't know. That's how I kind of saw it. Like I understand. Yeah, it is kind of weird that he doesn't. Yeah. When he probably should have, it would have been a smarter move. But then I think of it at the same time, like maybe he just, because he's been living so long, you know what I'm saying? Like he wants to have his fun. He wants to enjoy. What he has and whatever, and he's not really thinking about whether or not he's going to die because he's never been close to death like that before.
True, and you bring up a good point, and I think you're right. You can't really connect with the mannerisms of a serial killer. Yeah, and that's literally what it is. Even though it's from another dimension, it's basically a serial killer. And the reason I bring that up is this: they make a good point. They hint at stuff. I don't know what they were trying to get at, and I don't know what's mentioned in the book, but to me, it obviously is a deadlights. It could take whatever shape or form you want. And when Mike's telling the story of it, it looked like a giant fucking like crazy like that shit from Spawn. That like what's it called,
Demogorgon.
No, that's from Stranger Things. But yeah, like let's just say it looked like a fucking Demogorgon. It was this fucking monster just eating things in his vision, right? But obviously he takes the form of a clown. Yeah. Why did he take the form of a clown? Because he's seen the clown. And there's one scene where Bev,
about like Violator type.
Right, Violator. That's what it was. But you see Bev, and she looks, and you see this old town, like a cabin area, and the guy is obviously from like the 18th century or some shit. He's putting on the white makeup.
Yeah, during her sequence when she's trying to get
right, and you also see the picture of the old guy smiling for the circus and his daughter, and the old lady's talking about, oh, my grandfather or my dad or whatever, right?
Yeah,
I think she was saying about the grandfather or something, but like
join the circus.
Join the circus, and I think Pennywise, because he knows what's going on in town, he feeds off of negative energy. He doesn't attack the people that are helping the negative energy, like in a sense. Like, he still ate the bully when the first one, but he kept Henry Bauer alive. Why? Because he only needed the one guy, and Henry Bauer is the main, source of negative energy. Same thing with Bev's dad. Bev's dad was negative energy. He kept him alive. Yeah. He never attacked. He only went for Bev. Bev was a kid. He was an adult, but like anything that helps, I think he keeps. He likes to keep us like a certain handful of people he can find use for, and like you had the actual clown from back in the day, and I think he liked that this clown was there, and I think the clown, that guy in the circus, was a serial killer.
Yeah,
he was a clown.
Probably just went by.
I think he took that form because he sensed how much fear people had of this guy.
Yeah,
and that could be all speculation on my part.
That's a theory.
I'm putting the idea of. He takes the form of something. He didn't just come up with this form because there's clearly a picture of it. There was clearly a circus before. There was clearly a guy he could actually put before the makeup and everything. And I think it saw that. It saw that and took that form because it was the form that was most powerful. Yeah. And that guy was a serial killer, so it took a lot of his mannerisms. Yeah, is what I think happened.
Because it realized that like that was like very fearful for like a lot of people and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure it probably either consumed him or something, right? And just took his form.
Yeah, and I think people were probably less. When clowns were first made, people were more intrigued and less scared of the idea of a clown, and that's more of like a modern thing to me, where people are scared of clowns. Like, fuck clowns. Everyone's just like, fuck clowns, right? But maybe when clowns were first around and circus was first around, that was literally the highlight of a kid's life. Right, yeah. So it was easier to tempt kids, because you can ask the question now. Yeah. Like, what kid would fall for that fucking thing? Yeah. Like, that's clearly
that's why he stays in the sewers.
Right?
That's why he stays in the sewers.
Yeah, but he knows that the clown brings fear as well.
Yeah. Because before, I feel like he was only using the clown just to bring the kids to him. Yeah. And he could do it in broad daylight. Yeah. Yeah. And then now he had to change up his strategy.
Now he had to change up his strategy.
The way that's why he took Georgie when he's in the sewer. But yeah.
Which brings back the other dark scene with the little girl in this one where she gets eaten. She knows the clown's this fucking creepy ass clown. And she's like, I'm not going over there. And then he has to, change what he does. And it was very dark because he starts trying to befriend the girl. Yeah. And it's like, oh, come over here, like, oh, everyone makes fun of me too, and this and that. And she has like the scar on her face, and like, she was like, low-key not really afraid of him, but kind of like in the inside, like, I'm pretty sure she was deep down still kind of afraid, and she gets eaten, but like, it helped the dark atmosphere of everything, and
and it brought more to like, it just doesn't really give a fuck. It just wants to eat. So like, it really doesn't matter. Even if you're being bullied and shit like that, it's like, it's gonna feed off of that kind of negative energy that you're giving off, like, oh, that you're sad or whatever, or you're depressed, so it's just gonna eat you anyway. So I was just like, that's kind of fucked up, but like, I feel like that's the main thing of whatever that thing was because it came from whatever dimension he's just feeding off of. All the people's like negative and hateful energy and stuff like that, or depressed energy or anything like that, like any kind of negativity. Right. He was just eat, and then he could, he probably gets power off of it. So. And then part of the other things with the ending sequences after Will's was, what was it? It showed Bev, and it showed Bev and Ben. Yeah, and it showed their sequence of them being alone and whatever, because they were both always afraid of just being by themselves, being alone. That's why with her, she was in the bathroom stall, and he was going to be buried alone or whatever. Yeah. And that's why I liked on that sequence the way they realized that they can get out of that, fear sequence or whatever, was if they helped each other. That's what first started them to realize, like, oh, maybe if we do this together, then we can, defeat whatever he's trying to instill. Yeah.
I love you, Ben.
I like that scene because to me, like, the way it represented was because they were both like drowning. Or whatever.
And their own aloneness.
Yeah, they're drowning in whatever it was, by themselves, being alone, and the only way to save each other was each other.
And he was drowning in dirt, and she was drowning in blood.
Yeah. And to me, that was like they were both each other's breath of fresh air, because as soon as they saw each other and they were able to lift each other up and lift each other out of that sequence or whatever, so they didn't die.
I like the difference because I think the blood represented the abuse that she was going through, and like his dirt represented like him actually being alone. Like that's why he built the whole fucking thing in the dirt in the first place. Like like he wanted all his friends to have like a spot to meet at.
Yeah,
exactly.
And,
and, like
that was the significance of that hideout, was because he never wanted to be by himself anymore. He wanted a group of friends that he can just hang out with, like a gang that they can all just chill in. The Losers Club, the Losers Club layer or whatever.
How much blood did they use for that scene?
Oh yeah, that was like 4,500 gallons or like 5,000 gallons. There wasn't like, I don't know if there's like an exact number, because every time I read about it, the number keeps changing. But the one thing's for sure is they
record-breaking fake blood.
They broke how much fake blood was used for that one scene. And I was like, they could have easily done CGI, but I feel like they were just like, you know what? We have the chance to just break this record. Let's fucking do it. Why not? Why not? Let's.
How much does fake blood really cost?
So they got like it. I know for a fact it's more than 4,000 gallons. So that's a lot. 4,000 gallons is a lot. And just for one scene,
and you have to think how many takes. You know what I mean? Like it's not just because if you think 4,000 gallons doesn't fit in that little square area. You know how many takes it took to do 4,000 gallons?
I mean, like, I could understand, because, like, even trying to get the right look of the scene, like, it would be kind of weird, because you don't want to drown your actress or your actor or anything like that. So, so it would probably require multiple takes and cleaning up and just redoing it all over again and stuff like that. But, I think that was pretty crazy. I like that, too. Who else had, like, a crazy ending sequence? So we covered Will's and Bev's and Ben's, and then I think the funniest one was just... what was it? Richie and Eddie's. Because another fun fact about their ending sequence was the whole Pomeranian thing. That wasn't scripted. That was improv. So the way they reacted to it, they improv'd it. But I thought that was funny.
That's really cool, actually. I didn't know that.
I thought that was funny. And what I liked too was that it brought up to the whole part of them when they were in the house, where it was like not scary.
Not scary.
And Richie was like, shit, I've seen this before. From the first movie. And it was like, oh, it's a trick. If you go to not scary, it's going to be really scary. Blah, blah. So let's go to very scary. And he goes in there. And then it's just like, oh, it's hella scary. So he's like, okay, let's go to the middle one, which is just regular scary. And they go in there and they're like, oh, no. He's like, he doesn't give a shit. He's just fucking with us. That's when they started to realize after the whole Pomeranian thing came to life. They're like, oh, God. Because that too brought up a whole like callback to the thing, because it was just a dog and then it turned into like this monster. And that's what I thought too. And I was like,
a lot of thing references.
Yeah, there's a lot of references to the thing, which is funny because I don't even. Every time I look it up, I'm not even too sure whether or not Stephen King had anything to do with the thing. I think maybe he just really liked it or something. Or they always just compared like the thing to being with Stephen King, even though it wasn't his own property. But another sequence that I thought was crazy was after all that, when they finally get back into the room and try to defeat it. I think it was what was it? When Richie gave, or was it Richie? Or someone gave Eddie the spear, right? Bev gave the spear and told him that, oh, if you believe this is a monster killing weapon or whatever. And that's when he realized, like, oh, okay, if I really believe. And then that's when he threw it. And I thought that was pretty crazy because I was like, oh, he really believes. And he's talking to Richie and everything like that. And then that's when you see Eddie actually just get killed. And I was like, oh, that fucking I was like, oh.
So Eddie dies. And apparently you said in the book Eddie dies?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me because the first one doesn't have Eddie die. But you don't have Mike there in the entire scene because Mike gets stabbed by Henry Bauer. And he just...
the 1990 version.
Yeah, the 1990 version. He gets stabbed by Henry Bauer and he's just out for the count. And the rest of them go fight it. This one, I think Mike does get hurt. Ed gets stabbed in the face. But like Ed's the one that ends up dying. And I guess in the book Ed died as well. Which is a lot better than the 1990 version to me. Because everyone gets out all happy and scratch-free. Besides the one guy that committed suicide. Which as well... Stan, he... I thought... For sure, the way... Because Stan kills himself. When you find out the end, he kills himself to bring everyone together. I thought that was a really good tie-in because it didn't make sense for the original 1990 version Stan, and like, apparently the book just has Stan kill himself because out of straight fear.
Yeah.
And to me, it didn't make sense because if you left Derry, and everyone's forgetting shit, right? They don't even remember when they get the call. Stan gets the call. Low-key doesn't remember shit. Maybe he does remember shit, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he remembers all of it. He kills himself. And it didn't make sense to me for that to happen that way because it's just like, you know, you're out of Derry. He's not coming to get you. You're good. Like, just live your life. Live your best life. Yeah. But, you know, all right, whatever. So Stephen King writes that he kills himself. That's just his personality. He's that person that's always afraid. He's been always afraid. Maybe he never forgot. He's just like, I'm living every day having nightmares and whatever. He's depressed. Maybe he had other personality issues and that just topped it off. But, like, I liked what they did with this because it's not like they made it like how some people said where it's the all-saving grace. He just killed himself to bring everyone. No one's just going to kill themselves to bring people together. It was probably coupled with the idea that he knew by killing himself it would bring everyone together. And he was just done living a life of fear.
Yeah.
So I like that they put that extra incentive in there for him to kill himself because it made more, to me it made more sense because it didn't really make enough sense for him to kill himself off of just being afraid of the clown in which he left the town and wasn't even been around for years. You know what I mean? So I like the fact that they added that extra incentive and it made it more powerful and it gave more meaning to him dying. But you had Ed die in this at the end. And, you know, he gives a pretty good speech of, like, look, when I believed, it hurt him. You know what I mean?
When I made him, Well, he brought up a call back to his fear sequence when he was in the pharmacy, where he was like, oh, I made the leopard guy feel small. That's why I was able to choke him out. I think if you could just make him feel small, you guys will be able to defeat him. Pretty much that's what he was trying to tell all of them. And then that's when they started to realize, like, oh, we got to make him feel small. So that's when they started to think about it. And they're like, oh, well, we just go through the tunnel so that way he gets small and then we could kill him. And he was like, yeah, because when we fought him the first time, he was normal size. He wasn't this big. So that's what they were trying to do. And it comes out that, they couldn't, make him smaller? Because he was just like, he's just too big. And then that's when they started to realize, they're like, oh, there's more than one way to make somebody small. And I thought that's how it was in the book and the original too, was, oh, you got to make them believe that they're not as powerful as they think they are to make them, as small as you are, so then you can defeat it yourself. Right. And that's why they started to do the whole thing with for me, that's what made sense with the whole bullying, because they were so used to being bullied and they knew that was the only way that they were made small back then. So maybe if they bullied this big, giant fucking monster thing, maybe if we can make him feel small, we can defeat it too.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So in the original movie, that had nothing to do with it. It was just a silver bullet, silver thing, and the slingshot. So the original 1990 version.
Oh, maybe I haven't. I haven't seen that one
literally. That's all it was. They just believed that so it was more in reference to Bev giving him the spear.
This is okay, right.
And the old one
with this inhaler
was the slingshot person, right?
Okay,
expert aim, and they just because they did it before with the slingshot in the original, they believed that these will hurt him. These little pellets that we made of silver, because silver kills werewolves, whatever. They just believe they killed anything. So she just picks it up, misses a couple times, and then she finally gets it at the last very second when she has to save everyone, shoots it, and it hits him in like the one weak spot that's like shining, and he just dies. That was it. Yeah. So I'm so glad that Ed's arrow wasn't the killing blow, just because he believed and threw it at the right spot. Because that was a throwback to the 1990 version. That's how he died. That was it. Yeah.
Because they believed that. So
because he gets hit with the slingshot, and then they all take pieces of him. Like they after he's like down, they go over them. They just start stabbing him and pulling parts, his guts out and stuff, which is good. But like it was really the slingshot that is what did it. So in this one, Ed still dies after he throws the arrow. You realize this is not the spear, and like it's not exactly what we need. And they have to go through the whole process of like figuring out what it is. A lot of people get, they don't understand the idea of the fact that why this works. Yeah. Right? Like of the fact that you can just bully the clown, all of a sudden he can become smaller. And so again, he's a different dimensional character. There's no rules of physics that apply to him. If he's feeding off of your belief system, then your belief system can change.
If you believe that you're making him small.
Yeah. So
if you're reversing the power, if you could do that with your mind, and if you could do that psychologically.
So they end up using that against them, which I thought was really good. I thought it made sense in the aspect of you actually go into and put your foot in the boots of the people in that world that they built, and then it works. Don't question it.
I like that too.
Can't question the different dimensional character.
I like that too. I like how they defeated it. I thought that was a good. It's like it's more meaningful instead of just like just like fighting a monster normally. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because we've seen all those movies where it's like, oh, well, this one's allergic to like silver, or this one has a weakness of this whatever chemical, and we just gotta make it, so then we kill it, or we just burn it and stuff like that. Yeah, because then it's like, oh, okay, well then it's every other normal monster movie. This was more psychological, like a lot of what Stephen King always tries to instill in his stories. It's deeper. There's a deeper meaning than the things that are just physical and stuff. Yeah. And I like that ending too. And after that, that's when the same part of the book, when we call back to it, is Eddie does get left after they do defeat it. So that is kind of sad. And I was like, oh, so I guess they left
collapsing cave.
And Richie never wanted to leave him. Yeah, which was crazy. So I was like,
right, because apparently they're hinting at that he
was actually in love
with Ed.
Because they showed that in the earlier movie too. They hinted that Richie was actually gay, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then even in the book, I think if I remember reading correctly, they said it hinted in him always liking Eddie, and that's why they put it in the movie where he
scratches
his initials, R and E, because that was his best friend. He was always just like really in love with him, but he never told him how he felt, kind of thing. And I was like, that's actually really sad. That's why he never wanted to leave him there, and that's why when they did leave him there and they all went back to the cliff, he was still really, really upset. Because it's his best friend, like his best friend for life, and it's just like he's gone. And it was like, damn, that's crazy. And then what I liked about the ending too, a lot of people touched up on, was they were like, oh, it was too Stand By Me. And I was like, I like that. I like that it was Stand. Yeah, I really like Stand By Me.
He's narrating what happens. Well, one guy writing the book.
Everybody has their the happy ending and stuff. And I was like, I really like that. Yeah.
And this is actually the change in the ending.
And from the book, which was crazy because I didn't even know that. But apparently in the book, it's very depressing. It's as soon as they leave that town, they all just forget again, and it's just like, whoa. What the fuck? There's just like that doesn't bring into the whole point of like its powers, and I was like, that's why I liked how the movie did.
Why does it still have powers on
the town?
On it. So according to the book, like I guess when they leave, they all still forget and they forget each other
because it's still
like the whole point of that bond was that you remember each other. Yeah. So they forget that it even happened. They didn't know why they were in that town, and like it's just like.
I guess that's another reason why, like...
That's why the ending sucked.
That's why a lot of people said they didn't like the actual book ending to it, because it's very depressing. And I was like, yeah, it really is. And I feel like the way, when they did say that they were going to end this one differently from all the other reiterations and stuff, I was like, I feel like that was actually, like, a good thing for this movie. Because I feel like it actually fit. Because it was like, oh, okay, well, now they remember. And then I think Mike said a quote that it was like, maybe we're only remembering because there's stuff worth remembering this time. And I was like, that's actually pretty cool. And I was like, yeah, that's a cool quote. And I was like, that fits more to how the movie and the theme of both of the movies.
Forget.
That fit more into the theme of it and everything. And I like everybody's happy ending. I like that Bev ended up with Ben. I was like, even though it's so funny because it's like someone pointed out and they're like, oh, she only liked him because he's all the Brazilian soccer players what Richie was saying. And I was like, oh, that's pretty funny. And they're like, yeah, I bet you if he was still fat, she wouldn't like him or whatever. And I was like, that's kind of harsh. Like when I was reading some of those online, I was like, but it's
just
funny,
speculation.
I was like, I mean, like
it's written to the point where she liked the person whoever wrote the poem. And she thought I still
feel like the way that they ended up together was supposed to be meant to be anyway. Because it was like, that's how it was in the first one when she realized who actually wrote the poem and who actually gave her that like kiss to wake her up kind of thing. And, I thought that was cool. I liked their ending. I liked Will's ending. Finally writing a book, and he knows how to write it this time. Knows how to end it.
So one difference I know from the 1990 version is Will's wife gets caught up in the mix.
I don't remember that.
He tells his wife, "Don't come to Derry. I'm going." Blah blah blah.
And then Bev's abusive husband is part of the whole shit. Too.
And so like
he comes to Derry too. Yeah, that's right.
I don't remember his husband coming to Derry, but like he was just
I don't remember.
There was like this whole thing of like these outside characters were playing a part in the negative influences.
Yeah. Because
what ends up happening is the director of the movie gets upset that Will leaves and says, "Oh," and he tries to be with the wife. And he was just like, "Look, we don't need Will. I just need you." And like, he tells the wife that you're nothing without me and this and that, whatever. Yeah. And it forces the wife to be like, "Well, no, I want to go to Derry." And on her way to Derry, it knows who she is when she enters Derry and like gets a hold of her.
Right.
So like, I like that they took that part out. Honestly, in my personal opinion, I think maybe that's what they did in the book as well. But I like the fact that they got into a fight. Yeah. She was like, "Fuck it, you gotta go leave," and he comes there and he has to deal with all this shit, and it happens within a time span of a couple of days. So it wasn't like he was gone long, and like these guys had to handle it together. Like I didn't like the outside perspective of his wife comes in and she gets caught up in the mix, and
it's like a side character.
Yeah, it's just like
not very necessary.
So I don't know if that's what happens in the book, but it wasn't even that useful. Like he just finds her in the cave and she's like floating and shit, and like he has to bring her down.
Yeah.
Like when they defeat it, and then she remembers who she is because she's like phased out and whatever. But it was just pointless, like so. I don't know if they threw that in the 1990 version of the book, but I'm glad they took that part out now because it's more useful with what happens here than having random side characters floating around in the cave,
right? But yeah,
because then it wouldn't have been as much focus on his guilt. He would have been more focused on, I need to save my wife.
Yeah. Instead of like what he had to do to get out of that fear sequence thing. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, and I liked all their endings. I thought they were really good. And then what was it? Mike finally fucking left Derry.
Right.
He was
took everything.
He was
down.
just like he was finally happy.
Move on.
And then you could tell like from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie like the whole change in his character too. Like he's more positive now. Yeah. And he's not as stressed or crazed out because they finally defeated what was bothering them all these years and stuff. And I like that. And I like how it ended very like Stand By Me-ish, especially when they're all going back into the town. The town's like empty as shit, but then they look into the mirror and they see the reflection of their young selves. That was I thought that was a cool scene too. For me, like I like the ending. I thought the ending was really good, especially how different it is from comparing it to the 1990 version, right? The book version too.
Absolutely. But scores.
Yeah. So for me, I give.
What are we gonna give this? So. You have all these different adaptations. You have the book, the book of the original, and then the adaptations of the movie. Yeah. You have this movie, the remake, and everything, and it's just like, obviously, this version of the movie is better than the old version. I know, like a lot of people who are older will watch this movie. This is the only thing I've heard.
Yeah.
Is that this one was scary, the other one was scary. If you watch the old one now, you're laughing your ass off like, why was this scary? It's so cheesy, right? Yeah. But it's because you're a kid and you feel the fear of it already, But this movie was dark. It was darker. Obviously, they had the effects.
It's more modernized.
Which I would have preferred less CGI personally, but I would have preferred more practical effects. Yeah. So it seems that you could have just used practical effects.
Yeah, some of the CGI was very apparent, especially when they tried to like de-aging the kids.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell like their skin was like very like Snapchat filtered, like softer. And it was like trying to make them look younger. It's like I understand because they all looked a lot older. Especially the kid that played Ben. Yeah. He actually grew, what was it, like 7 or like 9 inches from the time that they filmed the first one. So it would have been it would
puberty,
have been
man.
Real, it would
have
all
hit puberty. That's a problem with child actors.
It would have been real noticeable. Like, what the fuck?
All
like,
the guys
it's
have
only been like a couple days.
Yeah,
it's just like
he's just as tall as James McAvoy.
I understand you had to like CGI stuff James like that, but then at the same time, like some of the CGI was a little wonky. Like it looked kind of weird, but I liked the CGI when it came to like the monsters and like the making it look the way it did.
And they had to CGI that obviously when he got bigger and everything, and it was just way better than they kept the clown in there. Like nobody was going to care that they would. It would just been like Jurassic Park with a giant fucking spider chasing them. It would have been like, what am I watching again?
Yeah.
Like,
right?
So it was glad. I was very glad that they had that. I was very glad that the way that they defeated it and made it small and then just crushed his heart or whatever, and the dead lice actually just disappeared and yada yada. But like, I like the progression of the film. And so again, if you're looking at all these different versions, I think this is the best version. as far as like obviously the book is just a different take. It's the original. It has all the information in it.
I've never read it, so I can't.
But in reference to the movies and whatnot, like this was the best adaptation. They did such a good job, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I love 2017's It.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that right now, and I personally think that one was still made better than this one. This was the end. They did what they had to do according to the story, so it is what it is. But like, if you looked at it as a whole movie, like part 1 and part 2 as one whole movie, and the old movies part 1 and part 2 as a whole movie, you know, like, it is what it is, yeah. But like, this is just. They did a really good job, in my opinion. It was a good remake. It was a good idea to remake it and give it like something what I feel like it would have deserved.
Yeah. So what would you give it?
So all in all,
okay. So give
this
chapter 2
on a standalone basis.
On a standalone basis as itself, I don't think for the score you want to score the movie itself, how it did and stuff. Yeah. I mean, not counting all the old stuff. It's I think it did what it needed to do. My personal feeling towards it is I feel like for a movie that was probably already darker and probably should have been darker,
because they're adults.
I think there was quite a few parts in the movie where it's like some fucking fucked up shit's going on. And then next thing you know, they're just joking around.
Right.
I feel like there was unnecessary humor and stuff.
Like this Chinese
when it should have been
the restaurant scene, everything's going like although that part wasn't very. I understand why they were very scared at the restaurant scene because it was just like like dead animals crawling to. Like,
I understand having the.
Why was that scary?
I understand having the humor on the first one when they're kids and stuff.
Yeah,
I feel like this one should have. Maybe stuck a little darker.
Serious.
Yeah. It's still definitely worth watching in theaters if you still haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
I personally would give it like a solid 8.
A solid 8. This standalone one. That's pretty good actually. I was gonna give it, and especially I think in my head because I'm comparing it to the original, as not original as it part 1.
Yeah.
Because when you think of part 1, you think of this as a sequel. So like this is a sequel to this, and I know what I would rate the first one, and I would rate that at like an 8.2, and I gotta say this is probably like a 7.7. If we're just doing solid numbers, that's an 8. This is a 7.
And then for me, like I felt like it was pretty much the same. I don't know, like when I was watching, I felt it was pretty much like the same kind of feel to like the first one, and I understand that they had to make it different because it's not gonna be the exact same. It's not gonna be just kids fighting a monster.
Yeah.
And I do like some of some of the humor was kind of weird, but then I did like the fact that at least Richie still had his humor even in that kind of sentence. So even though he grew up, he was still pretty much a child himself. Yeah. And that's what I liked about that as well. And then what else? As far as this movie goes, like. I would still give it a 9 because I gave the first one a 9. Yeah. So like for me, the overall score for both the movies, I'd probably stick with like a 9 as a series. What would you give it as?
As a combined series, a solid 8 for sure.
Yeah.
A solid 8.
Yeah, same here. I would give the first one maybe a 9, but I'd probably fall on a solid 8.
Right. Again. I really like this one. Yeah, that's why I gave it a 9. I like the shots that they did, the cinematography.
Cinematography was good. And again, I could have did a little less with the CGI.
Yeah, and then some of the pacing, too, with this one was a little different than the pacing in the first one.
Yeah.
Because in the first one, it's literally 2 hours and 30 minutes. This one's like 2 hours and 40 minutes. Yeah. And it's funny because people were complaining about this time, and I was like, well then how? Like, it's only 10 minutes longer. But I understand because I guess the way this one felt a little longer than the first one.
It did feel a little longer. Yeah. Like, there were some scenes that just didn't flow the way I think and the way that they would have wanted it to.
Yeah.
It put pauses in the movie where you felt like it was a standstill and it didn't need to happen.
Right.
But I I love the movie. I don't even watch scary movies. I hate scary movies. Can't watch them, but like I had to watch it. It is good. I love it. Solid 8 for me as chapter 1 and 2 as a whole. And again, if I could do, fractions, again, I would give this a 7.7, pretty close to an 8. The original for me is like an 8.2. Yeah. But yeah, for sure, like it's a good movie, worth the watch.
Yeah, we haven't checked it out.
Yeah.
But I mean, you probably should have because it's a spoiler review. So if you went through this entire review and still haven't checked it out, oh well.
Yeah. See if I could do this. Someone just for like All right, let's get the motion. The kicking, right?
Yeah, there you go.
And then I'm just